안녕하세요, 혼현입니다. 오늘은 에픽 게임즈에서 예전에 그 무료 배포했던 The First Tree, 첫 번째 나무라는 게임을 해볼 건데요. 여우가 나오는데 어떤 게임인지 저도 잘 모르겠습니다. 일단 해보면서 약간 풍경을 감상하는 약간 힐링 게임이지 않을까 그런 생각을 하면서, 내가 또 메뉴를 가려버리네. 잠시만요. 화면은 오른쪽 아래에 두겠습니다. 테두리 없는 창모드 이런 거 있으면 좋겠는데. 없네. 해봅시다. 새 게임 깨게. 여우는 귀엽지. 제가 또 동물을 좋아하기 때문에. 눈이 오는 겨울. 꼬꼬마 텔레토비가 생각나는 해가 뜨네. 무슨 눈인가 돌인가. 조종을 하면 되나? 제가 여우인가요? 마우스를 돌리면 시점 전환이
Are you
되고.
awake? I thought I heard you get up.
Yeah, I'm awake. Sorry, I just can't sleep.
잠을
Are
잘
you
수가
thinking
없어.
about him?
Yeah, a bit. You should get back to sleep, my love. I'm fine.
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
단점 보고.
I don't know. It seems weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I saw a fox on a snowy mountain, just looking confused and worried. Those eyes. I can't get those eyes out of my head. She was running in the windy snow, looking for something.
Do you think it has to do with you and what's been going on?
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense.
여우에
A lot's
관한
happened
꿈을
the past
꿨다
couple
이런 얘기인가?
days, that's all.
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me. I want to hear.
Alright.
2단 점프하는 여우. 이상하잖아. 2단 점프하는 여우라니. 우리 여우는 2단 점프를 해요. 벽이 있을까? 떨어져 죽나? 여기 있고. 보이지 않는 벽. 보이지 않는 벽. 나무가 있어 보이는 큰 나무가 쓰러져 있네. 저기로 가면 돼. 영어로 뭐라고 하시는데 잘 못 알아듣겠다. 집중해서 듣기 힘들다. 집중해서 듣다 보니까 T가 뭔지 모르겠다. 두 가지를 동시에 그러면은 제가 당황스럽죠? 영어권 사람이 아니라서 꽃을 보러 갈 수가 없고. 여우가 2단 점프를 해. 일단 점프를 해야 지나갈 수 있는 나무가. 이단 점프를 하는 여우입니다, 제가. 여기 또 보이지 않는 벽이 있는 거 아닐까? 갈 수는 있네. 그냥 막혀있다 대체로. 그래도 막혀있겠지. 막혀있는 곳일 거 뻔한데 왜 가고 싶은 걸까? 뭔가 숨겨져 있는 게 있을까봐 항상 찾아 헤매는 나는 게이머. 생각보다 꽤 멀리 가는데 그래도 뚫려있는 게 뭐가 있어. 사람의 흔적이다. 냄새를 맡아. 킁킁 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 킁킁. 내려가는 중엔 안 되나? 그러네. 내려가는 중엔 안 되네. 한계가 있어. 이 정도만 알면 되겠지. 일단 키는 아까 제대로 못 봤지만. 이단점. 아, 이단점 너무 웃겨. 사람들이 했던 대화는 뭘까? 처음에만 대충 듣고 말하는 직진? 여기도 뭐가 있어. 저것도 사람의 흔적인가? 조심조심 가야지. 풀숲에 몸을 숨겨가면서 발걸음 소리도 내지 않고. 아무도 없고. 뭐지 이것도? 이단점. 아, 이단점 너무. 그래도 냅다 막아놓진 않고 약간 이렇게 조금 더 뭔가 여유 있는 공간을 표시해놨구만. 뒤로 지나갈 수도 있네. 발자국도 남아. 발자국이 남는 구간이 있고 안 남는 구간이 있나 보구나. 물에 눈에 패여서 그런가? 말이 아닌데 왜 뜨그득뜨그득거리지? 난 내 발 짐승이니 비슷하겠지. 따그닥 발자국이 안 남네요. 여기. 문을 털어내 발에 효이. 아니 이것은
So, not far from her home, she followed that path to something unexpected.
내 새끼요? 새끼를 찾아다니는 건가? 처음 장면에 새끼가 몇 명 있었던 것 같은데 메뉴하면.
She couldn't stay though. She had to find her other two children.
Other
So
children.
she took that path. She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers.
다른 여우 새끼를 찾으려고 하는 건가 보군. The First Tree. 비가 오네. 눈이 이렇게 쌓이는데 비가
Fox
온다고?
looked high and low, searching for any sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient tree.
빛을 먹는 게 있네.
It was as if each one had a story to tell, all their own. The land was trying to tell my story too. I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
빛나는 곳이 여러 군데가 있어. 그런데 위엔 없겠죠. 여기도 빛나. 인간들의 흔적이 자꾸 뭔가 발견이 되는 거. 밑은 무엇인가?
As a kid, did you ever do show and tell in your class?
Yeah, I think I only did it once, when I was in the 4th grade. You know how my life was around then. I wanted to show my class what helped pass the time and distracted me. So I brought a dozen paper cranes I had made. I think I told everyone how badly I wanted to be a bird and fly, embarrassingly enough.
Don't be embarrassed. Every kid wants to fly. For me, it was another toy from my dad, a wooden boat. I remember guarding it so carefully in my hands as I walked into class. When I sat down, a group of boys immediately made fun of it. They asked which trash can I found it in, or why an ugly log was my favorite toy. When I got up, I didn't even want to tell them my dad had carved it. I said it was a joke gift my friend had given me.
Kids can be so cruel.
Some of them are. I shouldn't have let them get to me, but it did. It's amazing we bounced back at all.
뭐라는겨? 빛의 알갱이는 모아서 뭘 하는 거지? 위에 볼까요? 여기를 먼저 갔다 옵시다. 구석에 있는 데 같은 데를 먼저 갔다 오고 중앙 진출을 하는 게 동선의 낭비가 적지 않을까. 배가 있어. 땅 파는 데인가 보여.
Usually those kids would leave me alone, but somehow they could tell I was different. They made fun of how far away I lived. They called my
장난감
dad
같은 게 빠져 있는
sourdough.
거지.
I was a blabbermouth as a kid, telling my dad stories I made up for hours. But after that show and tell, I didn't tell him much anymore. He didn't know exactly what was wrong, but his best guess was that the toys he carved weren't cool enough. He carved me a tank and tried to tell me what it was like to be in a real tank as a serviceman.
I didn't know your dad was in the military.
Yeah, in the army. The sad thing is that I've pretty much forgotten until just now. There's so much I still don't know about him.
I'm sorry. He knows how much you love him. You're going to see him again soon and have some closure, I'm sure.
큰 탱크가 있고 장난감 탱크가 있었네. 또 오리 같은 게 있고. 나레이션을 듣는 게임 같은데 영어라서 모르겠어. 낙뎀 같은 건 없겠지. 올라갈 수도 있네. 앵크로리. 왜 들어갈 수가 없네. 여기를 먼저 갑시다 이제.
Do you remember what my dad did for a living?
또 애기
Wasn't he
장난감.
like a lumberjack?
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife was his paintbrush. Even after working a 50-hour week, even after his hands were more splinters than skin, he would bring home the nicest piece of Alaskan weeping cedar and make me toys. That wooden train was the first toy I can remember, and I loved it. I just knew from a young age I was going to be a lumberjack, like my father.
내가 놓치고 왔나봐 저기. 저기도 가봤어야 되는지. 미끄럼틀. 나 좀 너무 웃겨 일단 좀. 그 언덕 위에도 뭐가 있었던 것 같아. 그치. 좀 평범한 차가 아닌데? 약간 밀리터리 차 같은? 이단 점프하는 여우라고 나는. 평범한 여우가 아니라고. 아무튼 맞다고. 아이고 일단 좀 겹포점 위에도 보고. 어린 시절을 추억하는 건지 뭔지 모르겠네.
The older I got, the more I withdrew. I
어릴 때
asked
그랬던
myself,
느낌인가.
why talk to anybody anyway? Why bother when I'm happy by myself? I started drawing a lot, mostly animals I saw in the woods by my home. I then imagined designing my own hideouts with things like TVs and pantries full of chips and cookies. I think that idea of leaving home and drawing blueprints started my career. I found a lot of solace in that.
I'm not surprised, but I did the same thing, you know? There's something special about having a place to call your own.
And now look at us. Well, if you count renting in an overpriced city.
It's as close as we can get for now.
Your boss. 밑에 동굴 같은 게 있는 것 같아. 동굴이었을까? 딱 여기까지만 가보고 뭐 없을 것 같긴 한데 빛나는 게 없었어요. 여우 그림이 있었어. 칠판인가 보다. 화살 같은 게 뿌리인가? 화살이 아니야. 동굴은 아니었고 비밀기지 같은 건가 이거? 저쪽에 한번 가봅시다. 뭔데? 맵을 넘어가는 건가? 눈이 없어졌어 갑자기. 돌아가면 돌아가지. 약간 따뜻해지는 느낌이구만. 캐시는 폭죽.
My teenage years were full of sketching, angst, and trouble. I wasn't popular or unpopular. Maybe just forgettable. I guess that gave me a sense of freedom. So I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy things, even though I mostly just watched the chaos ensue. We did it all. Put fireworks in mailboxes, hide roadkill in people's garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
I think being an adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions. He had to make a living, and he couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me.
이게 아까 전 맵은 완전 어린 시절 느낌이고 이번에는 좀 학교? 초등학교? 중학생? 약간 좀 나이가 점점 들어가는 자기의 인생을 돌아보는 건가? 중고등학생 정도? 지금은? 식당 같은 게 또 있잖아. 담배가 있네 근데.
He was working another late night, and my friends were over, saying how bored they were and how they had come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage, and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while. The next thing I knew, we were careening around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringeworthy bluegrass blared out the speakers. I drove while my friends were in the back of that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer bottles and trash at anything remotely interesting. Felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside of Eagle River pulled us over after he saw us in a bottle rocket into someone's yard. What followed was a long night of talking to disappointed adults and feeling smaller than ever.
뭐 있는 줄 알고 왔는데 없었어. 못 파는 것도 아니고. 위에 또 하얀 게 있네. 내려가긴 해야 돼 결국은. 막혔나? 차를 좀 만나셨나 이분이? 왜 경찰차가 있는 거죠? 아까 스쿨버스였는데. 바버샵? 아까 바버샵이 어쩌고 했던데? 이렇게 범죄자 같은 느낌이지? 옳지, 어리야. 모르겠네. 점프를 할 수 있게 해주나 보다. 저걸 갖고 여기로 와야 되나? 아무도 날 막을 수 없으셈. 야우! 됐다. 여기 뭐 없지 이제? 점프. 됐어, 올라왔어. 낑겨 죽는 줄. 큰 곳에 올라가야 멀리 보이지. 또 바닥이 밑에가 있네. 이게 약간 분지 같은 느낌이로군. 내려가도 되겠지? 뭐 없겠지? 아니 여기도 뭐가 있었어. 정말 놀랍고. 올라올 수 있게 해놨군 대신. 이 타는 아니고 약간 현악기, 전통 현악기 같은 느낌.
After he drove me home from the police station, I blew up at him, saying how I never wanted to be like him, how I was gonna be someone and leave that hick icebox for good. He just looked forward at the road with tired eyes. I took out that bluegrass tape from the cassette deck and chucked it out the window. In my sage teenage wisdom, I thought I had proved the ultimate point. But my dad had a different idea. He slammed the brakes, slowly bowed his head while gripping the steering wheel, and finally looked at me. All he said, like it was a polite request, was, "Make this right." I sat there in silence, fuming, but I eventually got out and combed every square inch of the woods, muttering profanity after profanity. I found it 30 minutes later, near a small waterfall off the road. I went back to the truck, put the wet tape back in, and sure enough it worked. We didn't speak another word to each other the rest of the night.
Wow, I knew you were a crazy teenager, but
It's hard to believe, isn't it? It surprises me too. It's like I didn't really know who that kid was back then. I bet my dad thought the same thing over and over. It's almost like he was saying, "Make this right," to himself, more than to me.
올라갈 수 있을 만한 곳이 없는데 왜 너무 멀어? 딱 붙어서 하면 될라나? 요런 느낌? 안 될 것 같긴 한데 한 번만 더 해봅시다. 올라왔다. 아무튼 올라오는 거 맞았어? 원래 어떻게 올라오는지? 원래 옆으로 올라오는 거야? 올라와서 먹으면 됐지. 코를 맞을 수도 있고. 있는 거야 이거. 모르겠구만. 바버샵. 세 개를 모아오라고? 어떻게 하는 건지는 알겠. 이게 점프가 강력해지나 모아올수록? 그래서 저기도 원래 점프를 강력하게 해서 올라가는 건가 보구만. 오케이. 중첩이 되는 건 내가 몰랐네. 저 바위 위를 먼저 해야지. 저기는 점프를 해야만 먹을 수 있는 곳이기 때문에. 그리고 나머지를 점프 없이 먹으면 될 것 같다. 점프 안 하고 올라가자. 가자. 초하이 점프다.
My friends would laugh about that night and talk about how crazy it was. And I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. I imagined my friends growing old in the bush, unable to find that thrill in those godforsaken ice fields. It's like those mountains were a literal wall, keeping me from leaving.
나는 2단 점프를
Where all
하는
I would have to
여우라고.
look forward to are lumber yards and evening beers. I had to climb over.
젠자가 이걸 못 먹었잖아.
That was my only goal for a long time.
먹었다. 놀고. 아유 눈부셔. 아유 눈부셔.
If there was some way I could take my love of drawing and turn it into a way of escape, nothing would make me happier.
드로잉을
I wanted to
좋아했나 봐.
create instead of tearing trees down. I wanted to move to the lower 48, not because I hated it there in Alaska, but I hated the idea of it. It's like all of that spite inside me had created this monster which followed me around my whole teenage years. I put so much energy into doing what others didn't expect of me. Why did I do that?
There's one fact you're forgetting, though. If you didn't have that fire in you, we probably would have never met.
You're absolutely right. Maybe the destination is all that matters in the end. But then why am I awake? Why am I seeing this fox go on her journey? And why can't I stop thinking about my dad?
아빠 얘기를 뭔가 계속하네. 온천인가? 궁금하다. 너는 무엇인가? 네? 온천의 다음은 끝이야. 방향으로도 뭐가 있는 것 같이 생겼어. 이래도 없네 여기는. 넓은 걸 계속 돌아다니면서 얘기를 듣는 그런 건가? 이건 또 울창한 숲이군. 배고프다. Hola, Coca-Cola. 블루프린트. 약간 지겨워지기 시작했어. 한 시간도 안 됐다니. 나는 2단 점프라는 여우라고. 안돼. 2단 점프할 걸. 네, 여기. 저게 바닥에 닿았을 때 뒤적뒤적 하라는 거예요. 아따 맵 크다잉. 집이 파묻혀 있네.
On our property, there were old abandoned pieces of a shed and car long left unused. I used to ask him all the time who those people were that left all this junk, and I'm sure he got so tired of hearing it that he made up some elaborate stories how a brown bear ate them and haunted the woods afterwards. What's funny is I think it made those people seem more real, growing up thinking they were still hanging out like they couldn't say goodbye. I used to tell my friends how I could swear I saw spirits move near the water, and that always freaked them out. I guess it didn't bother me, because the way I saw it, they were normal people with old cars and sheds, just trying to figure out how to survive and be happy in the middle of nowhere. It was a cool thought that they didn't want to leave, but you know, I was a weird kid.
Well, you had good company since those ghosts like living in a place where they were brutally devoured.
뭐라는겨? 집중해서 자막이 나와도 알아들을까 말까 하겠구만 나는. 게임하면서 듣는 걸 동시에 하라지. 나 같은 사람은 할 수가 없어요. 나무가 움직이는 거지? 무섭냐? 몬스터인 줄 알았네.
Even at my most distant, at the times when I detested him the most, he kept reaching out. For a year straight, he asked me every week when we were going camping. I thought he was just dense, Eventually, to shut him up, I agreed. We carried out the worn lawn chairs from the garage and set up a cinder block campfire at the site we'd always used behind the house. We walked down the mountain path, talking in the warm sunshine we only got a couple months of the year. Those 3 obsidian rocks shimmered alongside the shore, almost like sparklers pressed against a dark window. I'll never forget that wet stone on my feet, or how those massive mountains looked even bigger in the lake's reflection. I felt small, but grateful. As the sun set, my dad found something I hadn't seen for a long time. The tree where I'd made my first carving when I was 6. I hadn't even carved it. My dad had helped me, but I still called it my tree. Something about seeing my name there made me open up, and we talked about everything that night in that old camouflage tent. I told him how much I loved sketching and design, and how it would be a dream to study architecture in Seattle. I told him how I didn't get along with my friends much anymore, but that I didn't mind being alone. He told me he was there for me, and he joked that if all he had to do was write my name on a tree to finally get me to talk, he would have left me carved logs with novels on them in front of my room every morning. I don't know why it took me that long to realize it, but it was then I knew how much he had sacrificed for me.
건축 설계를 좋아했다는 얘기 같은데 나머지 못 알아듣게.
My dad built a lot of stuff in his free time. If he wasn't watching fly fishing or reading Tom Clancy novels, he was carving something. He made tons of birdhouses. Not that he was into bird watching, but I think he really missed working and adding on to the home. If he couldn't afford the time to build onto our own house, he would have to settle with watching birds move into their little homes. We kept an old mattress in the bed of that ugly yellow truck, so we would drive it deep into the woods and then watch the birds fly into their houses while the sun set. Usually it was accompanied by venison jerky or a cold Coke, but not a lot of talking, which is how we both liked it.
또 한번 해볼까? 올라갈 수 있는지. 못 올라가는. 안 될 것 같긴 했어. 저건 못 참지. 나는 못 참지. 그래서 80개나 뭐. 게임이 꽤 길 것 같아. 근데 짧은 게임일 줄 알았는데 하는지도 모르겠고. 나에게 이런 탐험 형식은 너무 지루하달까? 뭐라 그런지 들어도 재미없었을 것 같긴 하다.
We were happiest underneath the evergreens. We decided it was time to finally
Hello?
map out the hundreds of acres we lived on just to pass the time during the summer. He was only free in the evenings, so I would spend the day wasting time on dial-up internet and sketching, and then we would rush into the woods, pen and map in hand, before evening fell. Sometimes, the aurora borealis would cast a cold green glow on the mountainside, and we would finish our route underneath a twilight sky. Sometimes I was lonely during those summer days, but there was comfort in the routine.
A lot of teenagers aren't looking for the daily grind, though. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get out, to leave your childhood home. You wanted to progress, to make something of yourself.
Yeah, you're right. That house. I'm sure it's the same as how I left it. But then why does it feel so different?
I doubt you're the only adult to have looked back and asked that question.
여기서 갈 수 있는데요? 다음에 가야 되는데 뭐 곳인가? 그걸 모르겠고. 아까 저 바이산 쪽이긴 한데. 적당히 할 수 있을 만큼만 하는 거지. 여길 내가 뭘 빼먹었나? 숟가락 아플라고 그랬지. 아까 저 바위 빛이잖아. 별거 없는 거요. 아까 그 덩굴로 막힌 곳이 열리지 않았을까? 그렇지.
The perpetrator stood nearby, unfazed, like nothing was wrong. My dad is dead, and he's never coming back, Rachel. I can tell you these stories, but I can never reminisce with him again. He can never hold a grandchild that we'll probably never be able to have. I can never talk to him again, and I'll never be able to say I'm sorry for everything.
아버지가 돌아가셨단 얘긴가? 스타에 미친 소년. 저 왜 이렇게 열받지? 아, 오른쪽으로도 되는구나. 봐야겠다. WASD라고 스타를 놓쳤을까봐 걱정이군요.
I need to go to bed. I just can't talk about this anymore. Good night.
끝이야? 날씨면? 끝낼까? 굳이 여기로 올라갈 수 있는지 가봐야 되나? 아, 근데 또 참을 수 없네. 올라가는. 아침을 늦게 먹고 점심을 안 먹어서 그런가? 아니면 최근에 아파서 그런가? 배고픈가? 나는 정말 배고픈 것인가? 빼빼로 먹을까? 또 있어, 맵이?
Joseph, you can't go to sleep feeling like this. I'm sorry for everything, and I know you need space, but I'm here for you. You don't need to feel so lost. Joseph, have I ever told you what my mother was like?
설마 이번엔 여자가 엄마에 대해 얘기할 줄은 아닌 거겠지? 별을 쫓아가야 되는 줄 알았네.
You know what it's like not to have a mom at home. And you know how hard that made my childhood. What helped me was watching the birds in the morning before the school bus came.
들어가라는 거? 쫓아가라는
I thought that my mother was one of those birds, and it made me want to be free like her. My mom taught me how to fold origami cranes while she was in the hospital. So I told myself I would fold one every day until I could fly myself. I think we both have always loved animals, and for me that love started with a dog. Sometimes this Rottweiler would come up to our property line and wait at the fence for me, but only once in a while. I was sure to check every day immediately after school, and it usually ended in disappointment. I would even steal money from my passed out dad just so I could buy these off-brand dog biscuits. Even when she did stop by, she never went beyond the fence. Why was she so scared? I think my dad was the opposite of your dad in almost every way, except he was in the military as well. He coped with alcohol of every kind. The trailer started falling apart, he got angry, and I withdrew. More and more, I became the weird, quiet kid who made lots of origami birds and carried talk biscuits around. I think we were pretty similar when it came to being the weird kids. And that same sincerity in college was one of the reasons I was so drawn to you. Life got worse and worse. And at one point, I really didn't think I could survive another day with my soul still intact. I had no real friends, let alone neighbors, since we lived in the middle of nowhere. I should have talked to my teacher, but I was scared what he would do if he found out. As I waited for the school bus one morning, I walked around until I found something in an abandoned shed. Something I can't put into words. I summoned courage I didn't know I had, and I broke into my dad's room and found the key to the shed where he had locked my bike. I'll never forget that feeling. The wind rushing by my ears as the sun rose over fields of wheat. I was flying for the first time. I biked as far as my legs could take me until I found a house that felt friendly and that felt like home. Those strangers helped me in so many ways. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have found my foster family. And if it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't have met you. You have strength, Joseph, and you're not as alone as you think.
It's all just so pointless. Just waiting for life to happen. It's like having the home I always wanted is cursed out of my reach. The thought of being a parent myself. How could I do that when I couldn't even be a good son? I'm sorry. I know what you're saying. I just don't know how things will work out. These quiet hours will turn into years. We'll wonder which roads passed us by.
Then we'll forge a new road together. Besides, I discovered for myself that one fateful morning where any hopeful road leads to. There may be thorns in this, but it always leads to the same thing.
And what's that?
Family.
I'm so glad that you're part of my family, Rachel.
And I'm glad you're part of mine.
미술관인가요? 전쟁에 관한 얘기였나? 부모님 아빠들이 다 군인이었다 약간 이런 느낌이긴 했는데 특이었군 이건. 반짝거리는 게 있었던 것 같은데. (150) 스타도 있다고? 아직 많이 남았단 얘기잖여. 전쟁 훈장 같은 게 있고. 다 먹어버렸어. 짜증나게 맨 끝에 갖다 놔. 이쪽으로. USA. 정문으로 들어가 보겠지. 어떤 일이 벌어질지. 지금 스팀이라서 필터가 들어가 있거든 이게. 아닌데 대바대만 들어가 있지 않나? 여우가 있는데 도망을 안 가? 가슴 짱큰 돌. 올라갈 수도 있겠네. 아이씨, 올라갈 수가 있어. 올라갈 수 있는 것도 열받네. 올라갈 수 있는 건 아닌가 보네. 말. 게임적인 움직임. 갑자기 컨트롤이 필요한 구간이고. 나 2단 점프하는 여우야. 매춘 거. 날 집에 보내줘.
The fox knew her last cub would be waiting for her at the first tree. She was almost there. The rain cascaded onto the jade valley where the entrance to the tree was. Life was protected there, because that's where life began. It was now only a mother and a daughter left. Items from my life still dotted the ground as she moved closer to her destination and destiny.
이렇게 점프를 높여 이제. 원래 이렇게 높여야 돼. 있어야 되는 건 아니겠지? 인간들이 사는 건물이 나오고. 내가 원래 이렇게 점프를 잘했던가?
At the end of high school, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time.
아직 고등학교 졸업을 안 했어?
I looked into the best architecture schools on the West Coast, then got a dose of reality when looking at other students' portfolios and the high cost of tuition. I still wanted to be something, to be the next Alvaro Siza, and to make those thousands of sketches worth something in my grand history. But now even an internship sounds impossible. Siza helped me understand how essential emotion is in architecture. And he also said light is the real composer of space. I like to think these glints of light, like not finding a job or even a strange dream about a fox, are something I should be thankful for, even if the illuminated space is something I'm less than comfortable with.
그러면 눈이라도 오나? 고지를 점령하지 않으면 병에 걸립니다. 아이디를 확인하지 않으면 병에 걸립니다. 저런 데까지 다 확인해야 되나? 아! 전 맵을 확인하지 않으면 병에 걸렸어요. 이런데 별이 있으면 어떡하냐고. 이런데 아주 수상하다고. 하지만 없다고. 이거 많이 봤던 그건데. 어디서 많이 봤더라 저걸? 어디서 많이 봤는데 저거. 뼈 같은 데 있었나? 아닌 것 같기도 하고. 그거 어디서 봤는데. 낙가에서 봤나? 밀링 머신이네? 밀링 머신! 공작 기계들이 있지. 뭐가 또 건물들이 많아요. 여긴 약간 눈 오는 느낌이 난다. 어머 이쁘다 해야 되는 공간인가 여긴? 자, 뭐라고 나레이션 타임. 아이고
My dad
이번엔
was super supportive with my college plans.
뉴스.
To a point. Things were okay until this terrible accident happened. I guess a forklift flipped over due to a bad axle and it crushed one of the workers there.
포크리프트.
My dad didn't eat for days, even though he wasn't directly involved. It devastated him. Not only did it hurt the business, but it just freaked him out. He would talk in his sleep, muttering things about firing people and saying sorry. One fateful day he approached me, said that since my school search wasn't going well, I should finally be a man and take over the family business. He said one day he was going to die, and that all of his work, sacrifice, and even that man's life would be wasted in vain. I just lost it. Teenage me just exploded at the thought. I screwed up. I said things I shouldn't have. He was having a crisis, and I pretty much spit in his face.
구석구석을 다니지 않으면 안 되는 병에 걸렸습니다. 저 위에도 뭐가 있나? 최종 길은 저쪽일 것 같은데. 저기도 뭐가 있고. 샤이닝 스타. 대바대하면 안 될 것 같은데. 같은데. 오이. 노란 나무들이. 내려가는 길은 아니겠지. 어우, 지게차가 있구만. 포크리프트. 그래, 누가 봐도 포크리프트지. 포크리프트다. 운전석에서 탈 수 있나? 여우가 운전하는 포크리프트. 와잉. 오잉. 포크리프트다. 일터가 먹여진 것 같은데, 앞만 봐도. 이건 대바대고. 얘는 없는데 필터가 이렇게 어두워 보이네. 얘를 잘 맞춰서.
Was that the last time you talked to him?
No, I called on holidays, and he would call on my birthday. I guess we acted like nothing ever happened, which was stupid. Didn't want to ask about his lumberyard, and I'm sure he didn't want to ask about my job search. I never went back and visited. I think the last conversation we had was about what movies we had seen and what exactly a best boy is in the credits. I thought he would be here so much longer.
이 맵이 끝인가? 150 스타가 있었던 것 같은데 업적 중에. 안돼! 나 맵을 다 돌아다니지 않았는데.
In the distance, the first tree illuminated the wasteland.
아, 저희가 더 펄스 트리야?
She couldn't go home anymore. She did the only thing she was capable of. Moving forward.
아니야,
My
나는
dad died alone in the middle of the wilderness.
다른 맵을 다
I
돌아다니지
should have
못했어.
been talking to him more. I should have done a lot of things differently.
If the first tree on earth brought life with it, if it taught the birds to sing and fly and showed saplings how to grow, what could it do for us?
이게 더 펄스 트리인가?
There was a letter I received yesterday from a name I didn't recognize, with a quote I can't stop thinking about. Death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it. More and more, I'm realizing one important truth. Each of us have our own journey to the first tree. But sometimes I'm not sure I'm ready to take that first step.
You already have my love.
어머니와 아들의 대화였을까?
Her journey was over, but I have no idea. It was only a dream, a distraction from tomorrow.
I don't think dreams normally bring back to memory so many important feelings. Maybe it was just a dream, but it was also a gift.
Yeah, I suppose. But tomorrow we're getting on a plane to the last place on Earth I want to be. The only person that would have made the trip worth it is gone.
You're going to see him and be with him one last time before you say goodbye. I have one last quote for you by Emerson, sealed in an imaginary letter from me to you. It is the secret of the world that all things subsist and do not die, but only retire a little from sight and afterward return again. Go to sleep, my love. We have a big day tomorrow, but I'll be there with you every step of the way.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Good night, Rachel.
Good night, Joseph.
빠른데. 아까 그 그림인데. 애기가 있나봐. 잡고 가는 거 같고. 울랄라 이런 거 켜놓고 자고. 토끼 그림일까. 잠옷으로 나가? 안 추워? 자동차 안도에. 왜 사람은 2단 점프가 안 되죠? 차를 타고 나가는 게 아니야? 차는 왜 열린 거야? 차 타는 줄 알았네. 좋은 경치가 있는 곳에 사시는구만. 별도 많고 시골이라. 없나? 뭐하러 자다 일어난겨? 어떻게 된겨? 샤키를 어디서 챙겨갖고 와야겠네. 뭔지 모르겠네. 여기 또 길이 있구만. 집에 아주 산책로도 있어. 좀 더 돌아볼 걸 그랬나? 뭔가 갑자기 진행이 되는데? 혼자서 막 진행이 돼요.
What the hell?
꼭 다가가야 합니까? 전 주변을 더 구경하고 싶었는데요, 사실. 배터리가 쳐져 있네, 근데 어차피. 무서워. 이런 곳에서는 무섭겠다. 아버지가 돌아가시고 그런 얘기인 것 같은데, 이런 여우 꿈을 또 자주 꿨다. 언제부턴지 몰라도. 치가 내려가면 내려가는 거야. 내려가는데 올라올 때 어떻게 올라오려고. 집이 또 한참인데 이제 자다 일어나서 뭐 하는겨? 해가 뜨나? 저 호수까지 가나? 강인지 호수인지. 저기에 또 비가 오나? 대각선으로 내가 조금 더 따라잡아 주겠어. 이 코스, 이 코스. 같은 게 있는데. 과연 왜 이렇게 빨라져? 아니 더 퍼스트 트리인가 이것은?
What is this?
설마 내가 적은 글귀를 적어놓은 건 아니겠지? 쓸데없이? 체리씨가 뭐야 근데 씨. 계속이 없네. 끝내가지고. 에헤이. 울리고 그래 나를. 아마도 아버지의 추억에 대한 얘기를 했던 게 아닐까. 땅을 파거나 이럴 때 하는 대화가. 엄마는 아니고 현재 부인인가 보네. 더 벌스트리 여기까지였습니다. 감사합니다. 원희원이었습니다.